How to use the Expenses Analyzer tool. Download it from the website app.expensesanalyzer.com. Once you introduce your email, select the version, you agree with the terms and conditions, and proceed with the payment. Once you download it, you can open it by double-click. It doesn't require any installation. If you get any warning the first time that you click on it, you can accept it and proceed. Select the CSV files is the first step. That means previously on each of your banks, you will need to download the transactions you had because we're going to assess your transactions in order to know how much are your expenses and how much is your income. Go for each of your banks and download a comma-separated value file, CSV file, or Excel file. I recommend you to select a period of time of 1 year, although you can select other periods of times, and at the end you will need to put here all the files you want to assess. You have the option to load previous saved analysis, as we will see later. In the next step, you will need to tell for each of the files you had on the previous step where to find the information. And we need 3 pieces of information. We need the date, we need the concepts of the transaction, and what is the amount of the transaction. So this first row of the file contains the header, and we need to tell what is the header corresponding to each of these values. So the concept, the date, and the amount. With respect to the format, don't worry too much. That should work automatically. If something is not working, go to any AI and tell, give me the regular expression I need to match, for instance, this amount. And it can tell you. You have more information clicking on the buttons. In case the structure of your file is a little bit different, for instance, you have different columns for the concept. For instance, you have one concept if it's income, a different concept if it's expense, then you can tell here which column is for income, which column is for the expense concept. And similarly for the amount, you could have a column with the expenses and another column with the income. If that is your case, select this and put the corresponding regular expression. What is important is you put what is the currency. In case you have different currencies, we will see in the next step, you need to add the conversion from one currency to another. And if you want to assess how long you have until you run out of money, then I totally recommend to add how much money you have currently in that account. Now you save the settings for each of the files and then go to the next step, which we said is to choose the currency. In case you have different currencies, you will need to tell what is the conversion ratio between one currency and another. Once you have done that, you need to tell what is the period you want to do the assessments. Automatically, you will have the range covered by the files you have, but you can edit manually here on the input. Now we have 4 months, so we can see, for instance, here we are going to see like automatically the software is putting together all the transactions that have the same concept. So monthly salary is the concept that the bank is writing for our salary, and in 4 months we have 4 transactions. So we have a column for the concept. We will talk about if it's periodic or not. We have the type of transaction, if it's income or expense. We have the total amount of summing all the different transactions. We have 4 transactions. We have on average 3,200 euros for transaction, and automatically detected that is probably every month happening this activity. Your exercise will be to assign the categories to each of the transactions, to each of the lines on this part of the software. How we are going to do that? Well, we're going to do that in 3 steps. So the first step is, in order to save you time later, you go through all the list and try to put together all the things that are basically the same. In this case, it's just an example, but we have all this online shopping about clothes, electronics. Let's say all of them for me is just something I was having fun doing with, so it's not periodic, and then I save this concept. But before saving the concept, you can combine all of them and then all of them are in one row instead of having 3. If you made a mistake or for whatever reason the automatic concept is not really working well, you can check what is individually in each of the transactions inside the same group, and then you say, oh, electronics, it was a mistake, I don't want that to be together with the other one, so I'm going just to take it out. Now you see we have the clothes together is 2 transactions. We took the other transaction out. So as we mentioned before, the first step is for you to gather all the activities that are similar and put them all together with this combine. Now you see here you can filter based on the fields you have on top, and you can also do a sorting. For instance, this is alphabetically sorting these categories, or for instance, you can sort for the ones that are more negative or more positive. There are 2 things that are very important. The first one is the category. So for instance, we have this ATM withdrawal. Which type of category is this? Well, you can select the category that better fits from here, but if there is no category, you can create a new one, or you can edit the ones that you have here. And for instance, I'm going to add here like cash withdrawal. All right. Now you add it, save it, and now here you can change and you can apply this concept, and you will see here the category, and that's the point. You need to put all the categories for all of them. Now you may have transactions in between your accounts, and you don't want to take them into account, because if you transfer money from one account to another, it's not like you have that as an expense and also as an income. Is zero sum. So what the best thing you can do is just to ignore those ones, and you do that by ignoring the selected concept. If you made a mistake, you can unignore with the corresponding button. So once you have all the categories and you have the ignored ones, you need to go and check if they are periodic or not. What does it mean if they are periodic? If I'm assessing a period of time, for the next period of time, is this activity happening again? If yes, it's periodic. If not, you can say it's one-off. So for your predictions for the future, you don't take into account that activity. Now, the software is getting some automatic estimation. For instance, this one is the grocery shopping, and the grocery shopping is a necessities and automatically detected is more or less every week. So you can say, yes, it's periodic, and the automatic is good. But if you want to manually change it, you can go to any of the other ones. You can see here is every 1 month override. So this one you can say is marked as periodic, and then you can decide is happening every 1 month, or you could say, no, that is wrong, it happens every 2 months, or once a year, that would be every 12 months. So you edit the periodicity, and one of the important things is like some of those aspects that you think, oh, it happened only once in a year. Yeah, but it's happening the next year again. For instance, this charity, I was investing 50 euros in charity. Then I want next year to invest those 50 euros. Yes, then I will put is periodic, and it is every 12 months. Once you have all the categories and all the periodicities here, you can go to the next step, and then you have the analysis and summary. Just to be aware, this step is about yearly analysis. You can see the example before, it was 4 months, so it's predicting in 4 months we had some income. In 12 months we will have 3 times more. That is a simplification of how it works. And then the actual income is, yes, you have the periodic activities of 4 months multiplied by 3. The difference between the planned income you have and the actual income is the planned income, it doesn't contain the one of activities of the previous step. So those activities you see here, one off, those are not included in what we call planned. The same for the expenses. Actual expenses include the one-off and the periodic ones. Periodic ones always extrapolated to 1 year, and the planned expenses is only the planned ones extrapolated to 1 year. Then you have the ratio between the income and expenses. Now, you have the total balance, that is the amount you have in the accounts, and depending on the cash flow, you may run out of money. Now we have a positive cash flow, so we are spending less than what we are earning, so then we are not running out of cash. But imagine we are quitting our job or getting fired, and instead of having 38,400 euros a year, we are going to have 0. Then you can double click on that concept and put 0 and save. And you see now the planned cash flow is negative. And then you see the prediction of the runway is less than half a year. If you made a mistake or just you want to try different scenarios, again, double click, and in the open window, you can reset to defaults. Another functionality that is important is to set expense limits. If you are applying any type of budgeting, then this is going to be very useful for you, because then you say, okay, I would like to be within those limits. I want to invest 5% on charity, 1% on other activities, 9% on education, 10% for my financial freedom, and so on. And then I say, okay, plus minus 10%, 10% of these numbers. So for instance, charity would be 5% plus minus 0.5. So between 4.5 and 5.5% of my total income. Once I have those limits, I will see some colors here. And orange means is under the budget. Red above the budget, and if it's green is within budget. So for instance, we say, okay, next year I'm going to spend not only 50 euros because I don't feel I'm contributing enough. I'm going to spend 5,000 euros, and you save. And you say is red, that is above your limit. If you go and say you make your numbers and then you know how much you have to invest, you will see it green. And so you can do for all the expenses, and you can figure out how much you should spend next time in order to be in budget. Finally, there are 2 additional options to save this information. You can export it to an Excel, and then you will have an Excel file that actually contains the same information as you have here. So this Excel file will have this information in a tab named Summary, this information in a tab named Income, and this information in a tab named Expenses. As we can see here, Summary, Income, and Expenses. And you can save the analysis. So you can create this type of file. So in the first step, instead of selecting the CSV files from scratch, you can load it. I hope you enjoy it, and I hope you play with this tool in order to move the money wherever you think you need. If you want to learn more, on the description we have a link on how to manage your money automatically, and the use of this tool could be very practical in order to implement that system.